Hello, everyone. Welcome to another amazing episode of Agritech Founders Diary. And today we are having some special guests joining us. Guys, what does it really takes to rebuild the agriculture? I mean, we're not talking of productivity, not just for productivity, but for the planet. So, in today's episode of Agritech Founders Diary, powered by Agritech Digest, we are joined by a guest whose work is reshaping how we think about agriculture, technology, and regeneration. Michael Jones is the founder of AgroReGenerations, an open source platform helping land stewards, farmers, and innovators across Africa to co-create resilient regeneration system from digital infrastructure to grassroots partnership. Michael is helping Michael is helping define what regeneration really looks like when it's rooting in people, powered by data, and shaped by local knowledge. And in today's episode, we'll be joined by Michael and his amazing friend, Mr. Peter. I think you guys in some episode ago, you might have remembered we had Michael join us before. But today's episode is really special because we're not just having Michael alone, but we are having um one of his amazing friend, Mr. Peter, joining us today. So before we go, I would like to hear from Mr. Peter first of all. So today's conversation is going to be we're having three of us in studio. We've not done this before. This is the first time we're doing this, and I think it's going to be an amazing one. All right, guys. So stay with us in the end. So, but without further ado, let's meet Mr. Peter first. So, Mr. Peter, welcome to the studio, and tell us something about you. Tell us something about you. Tell us something about you. Let's get to meet with you.
Thank you very much again for inviting me into this conversation. As my names are Peter Murage and I'm based in Kenya. I'm the founder of a non-profit organization called Mount Kenya Organic Farming, or acronym Move Africa. I work with smallholder farmers to promote regenerative systems, and I've been working with farmers for the last 20 years plus, and I'm really interested to see how we can be able to have a paradigm shift in agriculture so that it's more sustainable. And I think we are also partnering with AgroRegenerations so that we can be able to, bring more impact within the farming communities in Kenya. But this is not just for Kenya alone, but I think it is something which should be looked into globally.
So, Mr. Peter, do you tell us about your company a bit? You know, do you have a company you run? Hello? Tell us about your
Yes,
visionary.
my
Yeah.
company, yes,
Go ahead, I
my
can hear you.
company is an organization called, hello?
Hello,
My
yeah, go ahead, I can
organization
hear
is
you.
called Move Africa.
Okay, Move Africa.
Yes, my organization is called Move Africa, and I'm the Move MOOF Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and for Mount Kenya organic farming without a K, Mount Kenya, yeah. And we are based right on the slopes of the second highest mountain in Africa, as Mount Kenya. So the names goes with the feature within the region. And
Mm.
this is not just a fish, geographical feature, but it has got a lot of impact within the community surrounding it, because that's sometimes we think that's where the rains comes from. That's where our God actually lived, traditionally thinking, and that's where the blessings came from. So it's quite a used name and easy to be taken up by the local communities. So I've been on this journey working with smallholder farmers and trying to help them to turn around their smallholder agricultural systems, because in Kenya there is a lot of use of pesticides and herbicides, synthetic fertilizers, which have had a lot of detrimental effects to the soils, and this has led to low soil fertility and low productivity, and this has also contributed to food and nutrition insecurity. So we need to get into a system whereby we can be able to regenerate, to renew, to bring the growth into the farm systems. And when we talk about regeneration, we are not just looking at the farms alone. We are looking at it in a holistic approach, such that we involve even the other stakeholders, the environment, the livestock, the wildlife, and also the air. Not just focusing on the farms themselves, and also the other aspect is also trying to bring in the farmers as key partners, because if you look at the agricultural systems, especially in Africa, before in the last century, farmers are really not considered. Their inputs are really not respected because they are not scientific, because it has been the top bottom. But we are looking into a situation whereby farmers are also inputs and ideas are also taken up and also mixed up with modern research and technologies to develop a regenerative agricultural system for Africa. And I think this is the way forward. And if we can be able to get into this type of approaches, we might be able to solve some of the challenges with food security in Africa. And especially now that we have got the challenges of climate change, which have brought about erratic rainfalls, droughts, and so many other problems like the locals. So we need to come think. We don't just sit there and cry, but we need to think about how can we be able to solve these problems from our
Hmm.
own
Okay.
African perspectives. Of course, we cannot just do all this alone. We need partners like Mike or AgroRegenerations and others, so that we can be able to move forward.
Let's dive deep a bit. Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Peter, for those for sharing your thoughts around those things and for the amazing work you're doing in Africa, especially in
Yeah, well
Kenya.
said, Peter.
Kenya for me is like a home. It's like my second home. um, yeah, I was in Kenya about a month ago. That's like my second home, and I would definitely be back again soon. So that's a very thank you very much, Mr. Peter, for sharing your thoughts around those things for us once again. Well, let's dive deep. Let's dive deep. Let's dive deep. All right. So when we talk about regeneration as infrastructure, what exactly does that mean? And and when we talk about tools, systems, relationship, all of the above, what exactly do we mean?
Yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah,
if I
Mr.
can jump
Perry.
in, I think if I can jump in, I think Peter very much illuminated exactly the problem. What you need is to change
Okay,
the
go ahead.
systems, change the previous systems where we siloed and we didn't involve the stakeholders and you weren't working with the
Mhm.
farmers at all. You were just directing them. You have monocropping and you didn't involve their needs, uh, understanding what they wanted, understanding the better use of the land in a natural system and not just using chemicals and going for high yield and quick returns. You have to involve all the stakeholders and you have to understand their livelihoods and how we can improve them and also understand the topographic and the real challenges facing these communities as well as the land and work with people who like Peter who not only knows that on a farmer level but also has that amazing educational background as an agroecologist, as a pioneer in permaculture for 20 years, and someone who works deeply within the community to involve all these stakeholders and see what the problems are at a wider scale and then move forward in a natural way as opposed to just singular profit yield extracting and moving on. That's just not sustainable. And that's how we need to look at these problems. And that's the only way forward for where we are today.
Okay, amazing. Thank you very much, Mr. Michael, for sharing thoughts around that. So, Mr. Peter, do you have any more thing to add to that, to what Peter have just said? Or yeah, do you have any comments about what Peter have said?
Yes,
Okay, okay, go ahead.
What Michael has just said.
Yes, do you have anything to add to what Michael have just said?
Yes, I think Michael has just Yes, Michael has just said it the way it should be, because if you look at the former agricultural systems, even the way we are trained in the universities or in colleges, we are trained to look into agriculture as a straight line in one linear orientation. But that's not the case. It needs to be holistic. You need to look at it in all dimensions and also involve the key players, who are the farmers. So the idea is to build relationships, whether it is scientific research and farmers, and also the universities bring down the information and simplify it in such a way that most farmers are able to understand and they can be able to implement. The other idea is that we need to have a paradigm shift in farming, such that we will be able to attract the youth who are the majority in Kenya. Like now, you got 60% of the Kenya population is composed of the youth who are learned, and with this era of digital and technology, we need to turn around agricultural systems in such a way that we provide tools, we provide platforms for these youth to be able to interpret it for their elderly parents, and even use it for themselves so that they can be attracted to agriculture. So I think that we will be able to solve the employment challenges. And agriculture is the largest employer. It's the sector which employs
Yeah,
many people, and I think this is the way to go.
amazing, amazing. So, but regenerative agriculture today it's a very big concept, but also a very grounded one in how people live and work. And I think everybody should be aware of this. What regenerative agriculture really is, and I'm happy to see what both of you are doing. But let me ask a question. This is going to be like differently. I know you guys are. So, what kind of Michael, what's your biggest challenge you faced in pushing this idea, regenerative agriculture? What been your biggest challenge since you've been running your company? I also
Um,
like to hear from Peter. That Peter, what's also your biggest challenge? Both of you are coming from different perspective, different countries, operating in different region, right? So we want to hear your thought around your biggest challenge. What have you been facing since you've been trying to push out this idea?
sure. I mean, it's always a challenge managing different
Thank
cultures
you
and
very
different
much,
climates.
Ken.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead, Peter,
go,
please.
go ahead, Peter. You want to go?
Please, Peter.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ken, for that. Thank you very much, Ken, for that question. And I think if you have got a goal and an aim, the road is usually not straightforward. It's not straight. Even roads are not straight. So there are challenges which come about with what we have been doing. And the first thing is to change the mindset of farmers to be, because we have all been trained. Even me, I was trained as on conventional agriculture in the university, and that's exactly what we also train farmers through the agricultural extension systems. So it's the changing of the mindset of the farmers and everybody else, and to showcase that the regenerative agriculture already exists in the farming system. regenerate organic agriculture or permaculture or agroecology sustain employment, and it can also be able to generate income for the smallholder farmers. So this will be tackled by training. If we can be able to come around and train the smallholder farmers and also involve the researchers, universities, and also other research organizations to come out with ideas and technologies which are feasible, which are workable with the smallholder farmers, and also involve the smallholder farmers into research or trials and demonstrations so that you bring them on board. So I think that will be the easiest way to support the farmers to take up the new technologies or the regenerative agriculture systems. So the other one is the funding. Sometimes you can handle the ideas, very good ideas, but to implement them, you also need to bring in stakeholders.
Yes.
The government agencies. You need to bring in the international agencies. You need to bring in the international non-government organizations so that we can all be together working as a team. I think we can be able to achieve or overcome these challenges. The other idea is the diversities or the whatever has been brought up by climate change. I think this is also exaggerating the ideas of implementing the regenerative agriculture. So we need to come out with the real technologies and techniques, especially when you look at the permaculture. Is you go holistic approach, but you don't reduce the yields. You have to have our eyes on the bull, on the target. That whatever technology that you bring in, whether it's permaculture, whether it's agroecology, whether it's regenerative agriculture, the final goal is how is the yields? Are we going to maintain the yields? Are we going to increase the yields? Or are we going to stabilize the yields? Are we going to create new jobs within the regenerative systems? Are we going to come out with showcase studies that work so that we can be able to convince the government agencies and also international organizations that what we are talking about works, that regenerative works and is the way forward for the world.
Okay. Michael, let me hear your own challenges.
Yeah, I mean the similar thing. I mean, what I was starting with was talking about working at a global scale or trying to scale and working with different regions and different countries and understanding their case study and how important it is to shape it around what their needs are on a broad sense. But those challenges are pretty easily overcome. It's a lot of people like myself who speak languages, who are well traveled, who are open to integrating with a multiple of cultures and different atmospheres. And just juggling that remotely, the technology is there more so every day. But as Peter well put out, there's two key things to think about and that's where we get some of our name from, which is the generation, thinking things in generational terms, getting the farmers to show up and want to participate and implement that change. Now, of course, we need key stakeholders like Peter who are well established, who know the communities, and that helps. And we can have universities and other institutions offer that same kind of bridge. But getting them, from my experience working with farmers in the field, getting them to show up and take a reward or incentivized will work, but only to an extent. If they know one way to do thing and you're trying to implement real change and you're not fully involving them while still respecting their limitations and their bandwidth of what they can do in any given day, and also their general needs to manage their livelihoods, manage their families, you can't overstretch them with tools and resources and education. But that doesn't mean dumbing anything down. You give them full access to everything. But to implement that change takes time, and it's more than just a one-off reward or just an incentivation program. You have to show that the changes that you're implementing, that they fully understand it, and that those changes create lasting impact to the fuller community as well as their farms and livelihoods. So like Peter's saying, involving the youths, involving anybody infringed within an infringed community, making sure that there's higher value chain access for these farmers, making sure that there's job innovation and just there's a pathway for them to be more self-sufficient and grow and be able to do what they're doing on their farms, but also improving their livelihoods. And what we really try to do is also like give a voice when there isn't a voice. So take an example, a recent experience that me and Peter had is Peter is, my opinion, one of the most expertise people doing this type of work. And he's been doing it for over
Yeah.
20 years, and we have COP 30 coming up in November. And I was like, Peter, are you registered as an observer to participate in COP 30? And he's like, I have no idea how to, not that he's not knowledgeable, but it's like, I don't know how to do that. Is that accessible to somebody like me? And I was like, is it accessible to somebody like you? You should be leading something like that. So now we've gone through that process and his application is pending. And now we're looking at the financing to get him there. And the key thing is, as Peter said, is we're always up against these large institutions that maybe don't want that change. And they're the ones who have the big, deep pockets. And getting the financing to our type of organizations and making sure that we have revenue and not just focused on impact. Now, Peter's an NGO, but we're for profit. Making sure that we build in some revenue streams so we can be self sufficient is key. But getting that early funding to get the thing moving is always the hardest part and always a constant challenge. And you know, there's always funding for some things, but then other fundings dries up. US aid has just stopped. You know, the political climate, everything is always interconnected. So that holistic approach carries across everything that we're trying to do. So obviously, it's about getting the institutional partners to get us funded as well in the early stages. And that's probably our biggest challenge right now, getting the stakeholders, getting the farmers, getting the tools, all those things in motion, and the machinery, the tech and the people in place. It's a challenge, but a very overcomable, you know, achievable challenge. Getting that big funding to support us in the early stages, that's kind of the biggest challenge that we're facing right now, I would say.
Amazing. Good to hear. Good to hear some of those challenges you guys are facing. Um, but let me ask, what's broken in our current agriculture, right? That's making this kind of shift to regenerative regeneration necessary. Should I take that again?
No, no, no. I mean,
Yes,
the
please.
reason where we're all shifting is we're all living the problem. You know, the planetary boundaries are out of whack. Even if you want to literally bury your head in the sand, every summer, every season is stranger and less predictable. We have to build climate resilience strategies. We have to create food security. We have to have incorporate SDGs in what we're doing. And again, as Peter keeps saying, in a holistic way, it's not one, it's always interconnected. And there's just no shying away from the problem, and the problem is rooted in these failed systems of the previous generations, and we need to put an end
Mm,
to that as soon as possible to be able to combat the wave of climate change that we're all living through.
mm, I see. Um, Peter, do you want to, Mike? No, sorry, Peter. Do you want to say something? You want to add something to that?
Yes, I can add something to that because if you look around, the older or conventional agriculture systems are really not working, you know, because this also was developed from the Green Revolution. And there's a lot of use of pesticides, use on the synthetic fertilizers, and this is not really working on the farmers' farms. And somebody has to come up and look at what are the alternatives, because if you look at the conventional agriculture, the use of synthetic fertilizers and all these farm inputs, some people look at it as a business. There's somebody up there who is actually importing fertilizers and herbicides. So their interest is that business, but they don't look at the needs of the smaller farmers. So what has happened is that these synthetic fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides have actually degraded the soils. So the soils are no longer productive. So we need to look at it at the coin, the other on the other side of the coin, whereby you don't just put feed the plants, but you feed the soil. When you feed the soil will feed the plant, and the plant will feed the human beings and also the animals. And then we come out with a sustainable way of doing things. So we need to change from that, because it is also very expensive to buy these pesticides and synthetic fertilizers. So the farmers are becoming broke. The poverty levels are increasing. You see, and if the farmers do not have money within their pockets, they are not able to meet some of their other welfare or socio-economic issues like uh, schools, paying schools for their children. They are not able to travel to learn. They are not able to meet their medical medical amenities. So they are not able to improve their lifestyle. They need to live, and agriculture needs to be seen as you know a sector whereby people will be happy, and they'll be able to get satisfaction and also improve on their livelihoods. So it should not be that it is for the older generation, and it's also the last resort when you don't get a job elsewhere or in towns. So we should be able to change and not just sit there to get another agricultural approach. And especially now, we have got the effects of climate change.
Amazing work. You both are really challenging the default blueprint of how agricultural works and who it's built for. Now let's talk about a bit about open source and trust. Right. Now, agro generation is rooted in open source thinking.
Hmm.
Why was that important for you, and how does operations help we build that in agricultural system?
Well, it has to be open source. I mean, we want people to take our model and go and do the exact same thing. We want to build layers and big data, but use it ethically and transparently. Again, the farmers are not the extractor, but the beneficiaries. Um, by making everything open source and working with open source, it just makes everybody available to the same tools. Even if somebody's running the exact same type of project or something very similar, it's not a, it's not com- it's not about competition. We're 8 billion people and we're going to need to solve these problems together. So by creating open source tools, then those tools are available for anybody to implement.
Mm, great, great, great. I mean, I think I love that concept. Scared of competition that way. Okay, but let's move forward. Right. Transparency is not just about tech features, it's about strategy. So scaling with integrity is also very important. You agree with me? So
Yeah.
there's always an excitement about scaling impact, especially in Africa. But
Hmm.
how do you scale without losing the depth, the local knowledge, or the spirit of that making it, of the spirit that makes it a solution, that makes the solution work?
Well, for me, it's like working with people, amazing people like Peter and Move Africa. It's about understanding that you have to have the right stakeholders in place that are doing the work and work with them. And the same concept of why we use open source tools. You have people in the regions that you are working in, whether it be by county or by city or by town. And if you don't have the people there in place, then you're not ready to scale there. You can't just assume that you can just go everywhere all at once. If you don't have the partners in the field, if you don't have field tested people that you're working with directly, then you shouldn't be scaling there. And let somebody else do it, and give them access to the resources.
Hmm. Amazing, amazing. So Peter, what is scaling for? What is scaling look like for you in terms of Africa now? What does scaling look like for you?
Yes, yeah, thank you very much, Ken. I think scaling up for on regenerative agriculture is very important to look into the what the farmers are doing. You know, it is not an it should not look like a new idea, but should be able to take up the good traditional the good agricultural traditional systems and mix them with the modern agricultural or scientific research findings, so that we integrate them together and come up with a sustainable agriculture system. So it's not just open coming with ideas from the university of the from the research institutions or from multinationals and try to force them on the farmers, but we should be able to involve the farmers. So we take some of the ideas that they have, some of the technologies that they have, we just improve them, we refine them, we use science, we use technology, and then we bring farmers to own them. Once they have been able to own them, then they will be able to take them up and own them, and then they will be able to spread it all over. And then we should also be able to showcase how these technologies, how our ideas are working. Should be able to have an open mind to anybody working with not just the farmers or maybe technocrats alone. We should also try to bring in the government agencies. We should also bring in the corporate organizations. We should also bring in the universities, so that everybody is involved, everybody is on board, and this way we will be able to come together and do the scaling of our ideas and technologies.
Nice.
Amazing. That's I think that's good. That's a very good one there too. Now, um, there's a tension about founders feeling going big but staying true. Right. Let's talk about the local knowledge and the golden ideas. Are there models, movement, or lessons from other regions that are shaping how you approach regenerative agriculture work in Africa? Let me
Sorry,
take
can
that
you
again.
repeat that? Yeah.
Yeah. So, Peter, are there models, movements, or lessons from other regions that are shaping how you approach regenerative work in Africa?
Yes, thank you very much. If you look at Africa, I've
Mm-hmm.
moved around and I've been to Tanzania, our neighboring countries. I've been to Uganda and Rwanda. I've been to Malawi. I've been to Egypt. But if you look at all these countries, they are doing something. There is something that they are doing towards regenerative agriculture. And close to regenerative agriculture or close to home, they are using organic systems, organic agriculture systems. They are also using permaculture systems. They are using agroecological systems. And you can see, for example, now the models or in Uganda. Uganda is their organic systems or organic agriculture is quite high in percentage, as compared to Kenya, to Tanzania, or to Rwanda. So they are they have even had very good markets of their organic produce, which even with their household food consumption and also for export market. So it is being done in Uganda, just a neighboring country here. But because the government in Uganda has allowed the use of alternative agricultural systems, like regenerative organic agriculture systems. So they are not just pinned on using conventional agricultures. But if you look at Kenya, for example, there have been a lot of interest in maybe the import of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides and all that. So we need to get good policies for Kenya so that it can open up other new technologies. And I think we can be able to follow the footsteps of Uganda and also some very good organic case studies, like in an organization called SECEM, which is based in Egypt. They are doing very, very well, and they're creating a lot of employment through regenerative agriculture, through permaculture, through uh, organic agriculture and regenerative agriculture. So this is where we can be able also to create employment for the youth. And since it is being done and is workable in these other countries like Uganda and Egypt, then it can also be successful in Kenya.
Nice, Peter. Well said. Very well said.
Okay. Thank you very much for that answer. I hope the IT people get to hear our voice after this episode, right? So it's amazing how idea can travel but still be tailored for local roots. Now let's look at human stories and the real moments, right? um the work is big but it's also personal. Who are the people this work is most meant for, and what have you learned from them? Michael, who are the people that this work is meant for, and what have you learned from them?
Um, I mean, it's about the stakeholders, it's about the people, the farmers themselves. That's who this work is for. And then their greater communities, and then that knock on effect. We're trying to make it so it's really, truly equitable and measurable, and quantifiable impact. And then that in turn, by doing these initiatives, benefits the planet. So it's not just a singular, who's the beneficiary. The first beneficiary is that single farmer and his land and his immediate family, or the people of his household, and then that moves on from there. And it should just be a continuing, rippling, positive effect.
Amazing, amazing. That's
Yes, I can
that.
also add.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and add. Go ahead and add something, Peter. Peter.
I think he
Hello.
froze. Connectivity is sometimes an issue. You there, Peter?
Yeah.
I think
Yes, I
we've got
can.
a.
Okay.
Can I add? Can I
Yeah.
Yes, go
add
ahead and
on
add.
the question?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
I think you've asked the question, and who is this for? For me, I also like the way Mike has contributed is for the farmers and for other stakeholders. But if you go into details, we are really targeting the women. Women are the key stakeholders in food
Yeah.
production, and they feed the family.
Yeah.
So if we need to bring in more women and into this system, these regenerative agriculture systems. So because generally you look at the men, they go out and look for work in urban centers, in building construction sites, and they leave the women on the farms to produce for food for their family. So we also need to bring in more women into these systems. The other one is also the youth. We also need to target the youth because the youth are they got the energy, they've got the technology, they have got you know the interest. So if we come up with systems which are paying, then we are also going to create employment, and then we reduce the unemployment pressure within countries, and this will bring a stable working governments. Especially in Kenya now, you've got a lot of big problems with the youth, the millennials and the Gen Z, because they are
Yeah.
trained, they are gone to the universities, but they have no jobs. But if we can be able to create a good environment in agriculture through regenerative agricultural systems, then we attract them to the agricultural systems. And then we will reduce, we support the government, because whatever you always do is we complement the efforts of the government to create employment for the youth. So this is the way forward, and we will be able to sustain agricultural systems both locally, and also whatever you do locally, we also impact the international systems, and especially now we adapt, and also we are mitigating climate change through regenerative agricultural systems.
Great, Peter.
Okay, great, Peter. Great, Peter. Thank you for the amazing work you're doing. So, lastly, for this will be for Michael. Lastly, for Michael, what keeps you grounded when things get tough?
Excuse me again.
What keeps you grounded when things get tough?
What keeps me grounded when things get tough? Well, you just got to keep
Yes.
going. There's always a new problem to work with, and also why we're doing this. And this is actually why I'm going to step away right now, because I'm going to get my toddlers off to summer camp, and I'm going to engage with my family. And when things get tough, you have to remember why we're doing this, and it's for generations, and it's for the planet that we all share and co-inhabit. And if we don't make these initiatives now, we what do we even have? We won't have nature, we won't have food security, we won't have better livelihoods, we won't be able to travel, we won't be able to integrate with the great vastness of the cultures of the world. So that's what when the going gets tough, I remember that there's children, that there's also the the grandparents. It's truly generational, like Peter said, incorporating women and youth and making sure that it's fully holistic in everything that we do. And on that note, I'm actually going to just go right now, and I want to thank you so much, Kenneth, and I wish you guys the best. I'll let you wrap up without me. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we're wrapping up now. So for Peter, lastly for you, Peter, what does success look like?
Can you come back again?
What does success look like for you?
Or success looks whereby we have got good established agricultural systems whereby we involve more women. We also have youth getting into agricultural systems, and then we also look into a way that we also look at the holistic system whereby we also have environmental conservation, and also we have enough food towards household levels whereby you have got good food, good nutrition, whereby we have got everybody happy, the children are happy, the farmers are happy, you have got more youth in agriculture, and everybody is satisfied, and the more support, getting more support from the government agencies and also international organizations, and also where we have got the corporate organizations also converting or investing into regenerative agricultural systems. And I think we also reduce the amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases emitted into the atmosphere. So if we have these strategies well put in place, I think everybody will be happy and it will be a win-win-win situation for everyone.
Okay, so that's to say, success for you is when you see everybody happy, right? Did I get it correct? Success for you is when everybody is happy.
Yes, when everybody is happy, people can be happy if they are meeting their basic needs.
I see. That's a very good one. So we love to end with a vision for today's episode because because that's what keep all of us going, right? So I want to say thank you to Mr. Mikey and Mr. Peter. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for helping us with think infrastructure, not just as building or broadband, but as trust, transparency, and long-term care. To our listeners, if you're working on something bold and regenerative, we want to hear from you. Fill out the guest intent from link in our bio or show description to share your journey. Catch this episode and more on Spotify, Apple Podcasts for behind the scene updates with agritechdigest.com. Follow us on all social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And definitely we will see you next time on Agritech Founders Diary. It's on this note, we'll bring this episode to an end. Once again, thank you, Mr. Peter and Mr. Michael, for joining us on today's episode. We'll see you again. Till then, bye for now. Have a lovely day.
Bye bye. Thank you very much.